And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Great show today. On the hotline with us today is Josh Heers, Field Support Specialist for Powerframe. As loyal Car Clinic listeners and viewers know, Johnson Controls is the company that developed Powerframe Grid Technology for automotive batteries. And I want to welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic, Josh Heers. Josh, glad to have you in the house.
Thanks for having me.
You know, nobody likes sudden battery failure. So, Josh, share with our Car Clinic listeners and viewers what differentiates a battery with Powerframe Grid Technology from other batteries.
Yep, thanks. There's really three main benefits to Powerframe technology. First one is what we refer to as structurally strong, and that grid is about 66% more durable and more resistant to corrosion than other grid designs. And really what that does for you is it just gives you longer life. It's going to give you more of a gradual deterioration as opposed to a sudden surprise with that grid. The second thing is what we refer to as pattern for power, and it's all about the design of that grid, which provides about 70% better electrical flow, which is going to give you superior starting power and more consistent starts. The third benefit is clean construction. That stamped manufacturing process produces about 20% fewer greenhouse gases and produces about 20% less waste than other grid manufacturing processes do.
Now, you talked about the stamped processes. For those who don't know and understand how the inside of a battery is actually made, let's talk about the stamping process. How is this more advanced than the standard other grid manufacturing processes?
Sure. There's a few different ways that you can make those grids, and the stamping process just allows for a more consistent grid when you manufacture it that way. There's a lot of reasons that batteries are going to fail. The number one reason is positive grid corrosion. And that stamping process really is able to minimize the corrosion on that lead plate. Something that we talk a lot about is porosity, or how much air is actually inside that grid, where some of the other grid designs that you're pouring lead into a mold is very porous. There's a lot of air inside that grid, so it's very easy for the corrosion to get inside that lead plate. With the rolled and stamped process that we do, we roll that lead to a very specific thickness, and what that does is it compacts the grains of lead. It gets out of a lot of those air pockets and doesn't allow that corrosion to get inside the lead plate.
Well, I have seen the interior of the Powerframe Grid Technology and actually held a model of that in my hand. And folks, there's no other battery that I've seen like it. And it's like comparing a rough casting, if you will, that you see when a company makes a casting of a grill or an engine block versus the final machined version. It's really a beautiful work of art. It's a shame that people don't get a chance to see the inside of their battery. And I'll tell you, Josh, our Car Clinic listeners know that I recommend the standard lead-acid flooded battery with the Powerframe Grid logo, but on the outside and the grid technology. But the newer technology with cars, fill us in on how batteries have advanced as well along with the new cars, because no doubt technology we live in a digital age, and technology is right along there.
Yeah, we sure do, and both vehicles and batteries have come a long ways. Your traditional flooded lead-acid battery really was only intended to start the car. It's a starting battery. We call them SLI, or starting, lighting, and ignition. Really, those three things are what that battery was used for. But now, as you know, vehicles have power sliding doors and power tailgates and navigation systems, DVD systems. There are a lot of electronics on vehicles that never were there before. So you need some, other type of battery to be able to power all those different electronics there are on vehicles. And that's where AGM, or absorbed glass mat batteries, come into play. The benefit to AGM is that they can, hold up to all the electrical load there are in vehicles these days and still remain at a very high state of charge. So, your car starts when you want it to, which is the key. And as we move into the future, we're going to start to see a lot more of the start-stop technology cars, which, I'm sure you're familiar with it, but for the listeners, it's kind of that golf car technology where when you come to a stop, the engine shuts off. All your electronics remain on, but they're all running off of the battery. And then when you take your foot off the brake or hit the gas, the engine will come back on. That type of vehicle certainly is going to take a little bit different type of battery. And again, that's where AGM is going to play a big role.
We're talking with Josh Heers at Johnson Controls, developers of the Powerframe Grid Technology for automotive batteries. Josh, talk a little bit about the conditions that affect the life of a grid inside a battery.
Sure. There's two main things that will limit the life of the battery, and that is heat and vibration. The heat is what really corrodes the plates, and then the vibration, whether it's going over rough roads, a lot of stop and go driving, that vibration will start to shake those lead plates apart. And one of the things that I'm out of the Cleveland area, and I think it's a little bit of a surprise up here for some customers that a lot of people think it's the cold weather that kills their battery, because most of the time when their battery dies, it's cold out. That's just not the case. Up here in the more northern region, we get longer life out of the batteries than, say, Florida and the Gulf Coast states do, just because that heat does so much damage to the battery itself, and that's why you need the Powerframe technology to help resist that corrosion.
I've often said on Car Clinic broadcast how the Powerframe Grid technology has really changed the way not only I think, but our customers. Some 50 or 60 hours a week, Josh, we operate Bobby Likis Car Clinic Service pre-repair, and we actually offer the Powerframe Grid technology batteries to our customers. And I won't go into the time today because it's your time on the air, but we actually have had people that had the battery and drove from Houston all the way to the Gulf Coast without an alternator, and they were stranded at nighttime. They had no other way to go, and that battery brought them home safely. It's a story that is fantastic, and so I'm sort of the hero in the area, if you will, because of a Powerframe Grid technology. I'll take the credit, but the credit really belongs to the Powerframe Grid technology. And speaking of the Powerframe Grid technology, Josh, how can a car owner be sure that he or she is getting the Powerframe Grid technology?
Really, the only way to be certain is to visit one of your Advanced Auto Parts locations or CarQuest. And when you go in there, you will see the light blue Powerframe logo right on the label of their batteries. And that's really the only way to be certain you're getting that Powerframe technology in your batteries. And certainly, if there's any other questions or, if people want to see videos or pictures of any of the things that we've kind of talked about, certainly can go to powerframe.com. It's a great website with a lot of resources on it.
Fantastic. Josh Heers, Field Support Specialist, Powerframe from Johnson Controls. Josh, thanks for joining us on Bobby Likis Car Clinic today.
Great. Thanks for having me.